Do you have enough people to execute on this mass deportation?
I will use everybody we got to do this job. I wish we had more.
All right, today we have a special episode featuring Tom Homan, the newly appointed border czar under President Trump. Now, Homan's career spans over 3 decades in law enforcement and immigration enforcement, making him a pivotal figure in shaping U.S. border policies, and that means a pivotal figure in shaping the next 4 years. Now, Tom has received numerous accolades throughout his career, including the prestigious Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Service, Distinguished Service Medal, and the National Security Medal. Now, his extensive experience and unwavering commitment to national security have earned him a reputation as a formidable leader in immigration enforcement. In this episode, we are exploring Homan's journey from a local police officer to the head of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. You know it as ICE, and now the border czar, along with his challenges and what lies ahead for America's borders. Now, whether you agree with his methods or not, there's no denying that Tom is a key player in the ongoing debate over border security. So, Tom, we've already been talking today. Thank you for joining me again here. We're going to use some of what we've talked about before, some of what we're talking about now. I want people to know you and know how serious you are about this and really why, because I think that's terribly important. So thank you for joining me here.
Thanks for having me.
This is not just a job to you. This is something that you're deeply committed about. Is that a fair statement?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I grew up in a law enforcement family, and I started as a cop in upstate New York. I've been doing law enforcement ever since. Even be retired, I seem to be involved with law enforcement, but I'm coming back second time from a retirement for President Trump. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And we'll hopefully fix this problem.
How long did you think you were retired?
Well, first time I was retired just for a couple hours. President Trump actually, the Secretary of Homeland Security actually called me at my retirement party.
You didn't even get through the party?
It was at the end of the party. Me and my wife were shaking hands, the people that came to the retirement ceremony, and I get a call from John Kelly, who was at that time Secretary of Homeland Security. And he says, Tom, I know this is bad timing, but the president wants you to stay and run the agency. At the time, I was number 3 in the agency. I told him, well, it's bad timing. I just retired. He goes, no, you didn't. Paperwork's on my desk. I haven't signed it yet. So that Monday morning, I'm back with as the ICE director under President Trump.
So you got the weekend.
I got the weekend off. That was about it.
Yeah. There's been so much controversy about all of this. And the first thing President Biden did well, not necessarily the first thing he did, but the first thing he did about the border when he took office was to reverse or cancel out some of the most important legislation that was in place. And I've had border guards tell me when I asked them what they needed, they said, just enforce the laws that are on the books. He took off the books the hold in Mexico order. He just negated a lot of things that were in place that were working. Why do you think they took that approach? Was that just to get back at Trump, or was there something else behind it?
I think, first of all, they hate Trump, and I think I was part of it. He took pleasure in undoing anything that had Trump's name on it. But I think they wanted open borders. I mean, Joe Biden ran on open borders. And, 6 months before the election, I said, if Joe Biden becomes president, we lose the border. Just because what he was saying on the campaign trail. He wants to end ICE detention. He wants to reimagine ICE, whatever the hell that means. He wants to give free health care to illegal aliens. He wants to put a moratorium on deportations. He wants to have an amnesty. He raised his hand at that one debate, give free health care. He said everything he could say to make the whole world want to flee and come to the greatest nation on earth. And so this is by design. I've said it many times. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't incompetence. This is by design.
You're going to have to educate me as to their logic or argument. And I know you don't agree with it, but I know you've had to counter it. How do you have a country if you don't have a border? if you have an open border, how do you have a country? How do you have a nation? How do you have a country if you don't have a border?
You don't, but I don't think they cared. I think they came in, they had the plan of opening the border up. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know the guy what the reason, but I can guess what the reasons were. I think they perceive a future political benefit on letting millions of people in the country. First of all, I think they're going to be future Democratic voters, so they control the government forever. But as I said earlier, he also, when he signed 94 executive orders abolishing everything we did, he also overturned the Trump census rule. Trump said we weren't counting illegal aliens in the census because seats in the House and budget shouldn't be based on illegal aliens. But Joe Biden overturned that, which means that millions of aliens he's releasing into the country will be counted in the next census. When they reproportionate seats in the House, sanctuary cities are run by Democrats. It means more seats in the House for the Dems. It's simple math. So I truly believe they sold this country's security out for future political power.
Wow. You think it's that simple? Let a bunch of illegal aliens in, make it easy, give them money, give them benefits. They'll be beholden to the Democrat Party, and therefore they'll vote for us, so we continue to give them benefits and money, and so we bought voters.
I truly believe it. I can't think of another reason you would unsecure a border. And every time I'm up on the Hill or I talk to a Democrat, we get into a discussion, argument, I always ask, and they never have an answer. I ask, give me a downside on a secure border. Give me a downside. Name one downside. Less illegal drug flow, less illegal immigration, less sex trafficking, cartels making less money, less people on terrorist watch list sneak in. What is the downside on a secure border? There is no downside on a secure border. So they got to have a reason why they did it. And the only reason I can think of is they perceive a future political benefit.
And let me explain to you why I'm sitting here so frustrated. Because I'm the only one in this room who's wore a green uniform and been on that line. I'm the only one in this room who found dead aliens on a trail that were abandoned by smugglers who just left them there because they weren't worth any money anymore. I'm the only one in this room that stood in the back with tractor trailers surrounded by 19 dead aliens, including a 5-year-old little boy that suffocated in death in his father's arms. I was there.
Plus, the United Nations, they're behind all of this. I mean, they're funding a lot of this migration throughout the world. And I know the United Nations spend a lot of money down in Mexico and Central America, bracing this whole crisis with money from the United Nations. That's why I think when President Trump gets in power, we need to do an investigation what role the United Nations played in this massive migration.
Yeah. There are people close to the situation. I'm not going to be specific about who has said what, but I'm going to say there are people close to the border situation that say the people that are truly in control of the border under the Biden administration are the cartels. Is that partially true, completely true? Are they truly in control of the border?
Oh, absolutely. Criminal cartels control our southern border. They decide what comes in, where it comes in, how it comes in. And that's just not my opinion. You talk to any chief patrol agent on the southwest border, he'll tell you. He no longer has operational control of the southern border. I mean, one chief patrol agent told me, I'll protect him because they go after him, at least under this administration.
That's why I'm not making, I'm going to say anything about who.
He told me, he actually used the word broken arrow to me. He said, Tom, I'm broken arrow. I can't contain what's coming across. I'm lucky if I'm catching 10%. He goes, they overwhelm the system with family groups and this humanitarian crisis. I have to take all my agents off the border, and the cartels do what they want then because there's nobody left on the border to control them. He goes, matter of fact, several times this past 2 years, they took every single agent off the border in certain sectors. El Paso once took everybody off the border. RGV did it. Eagle Pass did it. Every single agent was pulled off patrol to deal with this overcrowding. Because this administration, what they're concerned with is the optics, right? They didn't want overcrowding. If there's overcrowding, then we can't keep saying this border is secure. When they had those 15,000 Haitians under the bridge that one day, and Fox drone called that was a bad day for this administration. So they've only cared about the optics. So every time they got overcrowded, they bring everybody in to process and release quickly. And when you did that, the criminal cartels have a field day because they know they can cross the border with nobody in their way.
Well, they've described that situation to me where they've said, take a stretch of the border, and they'll bring a huge group of people crossing at A and a huge group of people crossing at Z and draw all the border agents to those two areas. And then they do a run right up the middle with their valuable cargo. That's where they'll bring their drugs. That's where they'll bring their trafficking. They come across completely unimpaired. They just walk right through then because all the agents are pulled to the two ends and they walk right up the middle. Nobody touches them. Nobody bothers them.
And that's why I say the criminal cartels have operational control of the border. They create gaps by doing this. And CBP is useless because of policy administration.
Poor sleep affects more than just energy. It impacts focus, mood, and overall health. If you've struggled with falling asleep or staying asleep or found other sleep aids ineffective, Beam's Dream Powder could be your solution. Dream Powder is a healthy, science-backed hot cocoa for better sleep made with natural ingredients like reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed. Unlike other sleep aids, Dream doesn't cause next-day grogginess. It's delicious, guilt-free, and available in flavors like sea salt caramel, brownie batter, and cinnamon cocoa with just 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar per serving. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Christmas is the perfect time to share the gift of comfort and luxury with your loved ones. Cozy Earth makes it easy with their bamboo sheet set, a true holiday favorite. These sheets are ultra soft, breathable, and guaranteed not to pill for 10 years, ensuring restful nights and serene escapes every day. Cozy Earth stretch knit bamboo pajama sets for men and women are another can't-miss gift this season. They're perfect for unwinding at home, offering unmatched comfort and style for those treasured moments of relaxation. Cozy Earth is all about transforming your space into a sanctuary of tranquility. Their responsibly made temperature-regulating, durable fabrics make every product a thoughtful investment in comfort. Order by December 13th for free shipping or by December 20 with expedited delivery. Head to CozyEarth.com/Phil and use code Phil for up to 40% off. Give the gift of luxury this holiday season.
The cartels know what they're doing. That's why they're multi-billion-dollar business. So they control our southern border. But it's not going to be for long.
Talk about their use of social media. Do you have a plan to shut that down, to control that in some way? Because they're using it to recruit American teenagers.
Well, I was excited to see Mark Zuckerberg down to Mar-a-Lago. Maybe that discussion needs to start because you're right. And they're using social media. They've been using it at least 4 years. They probably used it before. I'm not a social media guy, but when I saw Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago, I was hoping they're going to have that discussion. I've had that discussion with the president that we need to do something. Look, I've been, I know a lot of people locked out of social media for making comments, whether it's about supporting Trump or, a lot of people are locked out of social media for things they say. We can't lock these cartels out of social media for criminal conspiracy, alien smuggling, and drug smuggling. And a lot of these young kids, they don't know any better. So they'll go down, they'll make a quick, $3,000 by transporting this guy from here to here. But what they don't know, and they may think it's just, I'm helping this illegal alien for getting a better life. But you don't know. Is he a public safety threat? You don't know. Is he carrying fentanyl? You don't know. Is he a no-inspected terrorist? You don't know. So you don't know who you're transporting. Chances are you're transporting someone very dangerous. So these young kids get tied up in this to make a quick buck, and they're going to ruin their lives because alien smuggling is a felony. And I've seen a lot of young kids ruin their lives over this.
The Arizona sheriffs told me that they are using this to recruit these teenagers, and they'll tell some of them, I'll pay you X amount if you don't go through a checkpoint, and I'll pay you 2X if you do go through a checkpoint. And if they want to search, run, because they'll chase you for a while and then they'll break it off and you'll be fine because they want to pull all the guards onto the chase because 3 cars back in the line is what they're really wanting to get across the border. So they'll put 3 or 4 illegal immigrants in a car, get the teenager to run, so they chase that, and 3 cars back, they've got several $1 million worth of drugs that they're bringing across the border, and now they just flag them on through. So they have strategies for this, and they had one 16-year-old who ran and hit a woman, cut the car in half, killed her. I interviewed her daughter, and she said it's terrible, but these kids can make $4,000 or $5,000 by going and picking up these immigrants and bringing them across the border. It seems to me that this is really insidious, that they're now recruiting these kids who are naive and don't see the downside. I mean, it's very intoxicating. Say, oh, I can go make $5,000, $4,000 in a couple hours. It just seems to me to be something that we really should focus on.
And that's why the cartels are such a danger. People don't understand. The cartels, they're just not a bunch of dopers. They're not a gang. They're very sophisticated. They're like a Fortune 500 company. Some of these cartels are now in over 40 countries around the globe. I mean, not only do they got military-grade weapons, they have the most sophisticated IT equipment. And like I said, they've learned social media. They've learned the game. And the problem is U.S. law enforcement needs to keep up with them.
Yeah.
Need to keep up with their tactics, need to keep up their technology. The Mexican militaries try to take them out, and cartels win every time. And even when they do arrest a major player in the cartels, many times the Mexican government are forced to release them because they do so much damage to the city. That is that is a definition of terrorism. They've killed judges, they killed journalists, they killed politicians to keep control of that nation. And that's why I think it's going to take President Trump to take them out.
Is it a military strategy to take them out? Do they get to their funds? How do you go about it?
I think you do it all. I think you chase the money. You take their money, you take their power, because that's how they buy off military. That's how they buy off law enforcement. That's how they buy off politicians, get their money. But as far as dismantling the cartels and taking them out of business, it's going to take the U.S. Mexico, I don't know if they have the willpower to do it. They certainly, if they do, they fail for the last 3 decades. But I'm not mincing words when I say a lot of the military and law enforcement and Mexican government are corrupt. That's just a fact. When we have vetted units, we work with HSI, we work very closely with Mexican authorities, and we vet the people that we work with very thoroughly. But even the vetted units, we don't tell them everything. It's just too high of a risk for our agents. So a lot of corruption in Mexico. It's going to take the U.S. It's going to take our special ops. It's going to take our intelligence specialty to find these people and destroy them. Hopefully, we can work with Mexico to do that. But I don't see Mexico allowing it. And that's something that President Trump's going to have to work out with the president of Mexico. You would think after so many politicians, journalists have been murdered in Mexico, they want to do something. But we'll see.
Yeah. What is the biggest threat to us right now from what's happened with this open border? Where do you think we're most vulnerable in America?
I think the terrorism aspect that scares me the most. And, I don't have a lot of respect in Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, but he agrees with me that the southwest border is a huge terrorist vulnerability. He's testified numerous times. He sees more red flags now than ever before.
Well, let's take a look at that, because we see here that 300 plus were stopped with names matching known suspected terrorists on the watch list, 183,055 with criminal charges pending, criminal convictions arrested by ICE, and 178,508 with criminal charges pending and convictions that were removed by ICE. So if that's how many are being stopped and caught, you got to wonder how many got away. And that's who's in the country. Where are these people now?
We have no idea. As far as the people, the gotaways, there's no footprint on these people, right? They weren't fingerprinted. They weren't vetted. There's no release documents. So these are people we're going to have a hard time finding, but we'll find them. And look, they just released thousands of people from Afghanistan prisons whose their sole purpose in life is to destroy this nation. And, back after 9/11, I was in D.C., and all these different programs were created to prevent another 9/11. Let's make sure people can't get a plane ticket to come to this country. Let's make sure they can't get a visa, either student or visitor, or whatever, to come to this country and do us harm. So we created all these vetting processes. You got the no-fly list. You got the FBI screening database. You got the visa security program, which I used to run as the ICE director. anybody wants a visa, they get through this vetting process. And if you got some derogatory information, you're not getting a visa to come to this country. We prevented thousands of people from getting a visa. All these programs worked pretty good after 9/11. Plus, we got DOD intelligence database. All these programs worked pretty good for the last 2 decades after 9/11. But nowadays, with open border the way it is, what terrorist is going to put himself in a position to try to get a plane ticket or a visa when he knows there's some vetting procedures in place, regardless how bad they are? He knows there's a vetting procedure in place. When he can simply get to Mexico, pay the cartels a little bit extra money, and be a getaway. And that scares the hell out of me.
You put a fine point on that before, because so people understand if they come across the border and they see a green uniform, that's U.S. Brown is Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if they see a green uniform and it's U.S., then the policy is they process them, give them a date, turn them loose. And if somebody that can do that is hiding and avoiding even them, they've got something serious to hide. They don't even want a superficial vetting. And there's 2 million of those.
2 million that we know of.
That means we got 2 million that are very likely bad actors in this country. How many of those do you feel like you guys know, generally speaking, where they are? I mean, are they clustered in Chicago? Are they in New York? Have they joined up with MS-13? When you go looking for them, do you have a place to start?
For many, we do. Some we don't. It's going to take some investigative with some processes. We have some, first of all, we got some great partners in the public sector. Public sector has some great technology. You're like, well, we're cops, right? We're not. The public sector has some really talented people who have a lot of sophisticated programs, so we can find people. So we contract a lot of this work out. But that technology changes every day, and they're working on it right now. Matter of fact, I've been meeting with these technology companies the last couple of weeks, find out what's new on the plate, what can you bring to the table? If I explain to them, this operation President Trump wants to do and that we're going to do is as successful as our targeting is. We need to find these people. So I've been meeting with these tech companies the last couple of weeks, find out what's the latest and brightest technology available. So we're already working on that plan. We'll find many of them, but I'll be honest, we're not going to find all of them.
Is this facial recognition type stuff? Is it?
Facial recognition is just one of many, but there's a lot of technology out there that amazes me about, anybody who's walking around this country that's a footprint of some kind, digital footprint. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a mortgage, a car payment, you're paying an electric bill, or your facial recognition was seen at an airport or a bus station. A lot of these cities have cameras everywhere, like New York City, and so there's a lot of technology where, license plate readers. There's just so much out there. Everybody has a footprint. It amazes me how much of a footprint I have. Right? One of these technology companies came back and said, "Okay, here's what we know about you," and it's amazing the information they had. And so we're going to use the finest technology in the world to find these people, because it's important. We need to find them, and we're hoping for help from the American people too. Once they realize we're serious about this, I'm hoping that people pick the phone up and call ICE and say, well, "There's a guy next door I think somebody need to look at." And I heard him, bragging about this or bragging about that, or I know for a fact he has 10 illegal aliens in his basement. He takes them to work every day. They're on a landscaping crew, whatever. I'm hoping people start calling ICE and reporting, because we have millions of people in this country can be force multipliers for us if they just call us with information.
Yeah, a lot of eyes and ears if people know what to do. Will you have a citizen number for people to call? Are you going to put up that kind of thing?
Yes, we will.
Do you have enough people to execute on this mass deportation?
We got as many people as we got. What's that mean? That means we'll use everybody we got to do this job. I wish we had more. I hope Congress funds more deportation officers, more ICE agents. But until then, we got other agencies that can join in the mission, whether it's the Marshal Service or other people that come to. Once we secure the border and get the border locked down, we can even pour some Border Patrol agents into the Interior Enforcement Operation Plan. DOD, I'm a big proponent of having DOD involved, not to do arrests, but to do jobs that doesn't require a badge and a gun. So there's a lot of Border Patrol agents and ICE agents that are doing administrative duties, such as infrastructure building, intelligence, transportation. Let's contract that stuff out. Let's get DOD to do a lot of that stuff, and that puts more badges and guns on the street. So we're going to do everything we can. Plus the 287G program. I got numerous sheriffs that reached out to me from throughout the country that want to be a part of the 287G program, where we train them what to look for in the jails, and they'll do the immigration work for us, and we'll review it at the end. But they're a force multiplier. And you know, Phil, I've gotten thousands. Matter of fact, I had to shut my LinkedIn account down because I just couldn't handle the traffic. There are thousands of retired soldiers, retired police officers, retired Border Patrol agents, retired ICE agents, retired law enforcement just want to come and help. And so I'm hoping we can create a program, a Rehard and Newton program through the government. So if you're a retired Border Patrol agent or an ICE agent, you want to come back to work, we'll bring you back to Rehard and Newton. You know how to speak Spanish, you know the Fourth Amendment, you know the immigration law. They'd be a great assistance. That's one of the things I'm pushing for is the Rehard and Newton program, bring some back retired folks that want to come back and help us.
In times of uncertainty, stemming from economic volatility, political shifts, and global events, it's crucial to work together and unite as a country for a brighter future. Amid these challenges, it's important to take proactive steps to monitor and protect your finances and retirement accounts. That's why I'm turning to physical gold and silver to help protect my accounts, and you should too. Gold and silver prices reached record highs this year, and central banks are buying gold like never before. So get started today with Preserve Gold, the only precious metals company I trust and recommend. They have hundreds of five-star reviews and millions of dollars in trusted transactions. Preserve Gold is giving away a free precious metals guide with information on how to help protect your accounts. Just text Dr. Phil to 50505, and you can get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to claim this exclusive offer from Preserve Gold today. What do you say to these city leaders that say, A, they won't help, B, they will resist your efforts?
Well, first of all, I find it amazing that any elected mayor or governor will push back. The president's been very clear. We're going to concentrate out of the gate on public safety threats. What mayor or governor does not want public safety threats taken out of their communities? So again, help us or get out of the way. And I've been clear. These politicians need to read Title 8, United States Code 1324, Section 3. It says, if you knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien from an ICE officer, it is a felony. To impede a federal law enforcement officer is a felony. So don't cross that line. We got a strong AG coming in, Pam Bondi, and we will present these prosecutions. So, don't test us. If you don't want to help, stay out of the way. But I would think we'd all be on the same page. Let me tell you something about sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals only. You just saw a tape of the guy said, we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel comfortable coming to the police. And so we don't want to send a message, we're working with ICE. That is crap. Victims and witnesses of a crime don't want the bad guy released back in the community. That's just common sense. It puts the community at risk. And like I said before, if you force us into the community, we're going to find the bad guy. There's probably others we're going to find, which means they're going to be arrested too. So by them putting up roadblocks and being a sanctuary city, they're going to get the exact result that they don't want: more ICE officers in their neighborhoods.
It just seems crazy to me that if there's a suspect and they're in their jail, that they would open that jail and say, here you go, do what you're going to do.
It is much safer. And why won't you give us access to somebody you locked in a jail cell? Because obviously he's a public safety threat. And when you're done with them, let us have him. Because then we were not only removing from the community, we're removing from the country so he can't reoffend. Look at recidivism rates, for God's sakes. They're going to release him back in the immigrant community. He's likely to reoffend in the immigrant community. How is that protecting the immigrant community? MS-13 thrives on citizens from El Salvador. Let us protect American citizens. Let us protect the immigrant community. Give us the bad guy.
I need to ask you about the Chinese immigrants that have crossed the border, because that number has gone way up. And I've talked to people that are concerned that we have vulnerability to our energy grid in the United States. This is a map showing where Chinese have purchased farmland in the United States in pretty massive quantities. Those purchases are strategically around military bases. And so we've got, in 23, I think, 30,000 Chinese immigrants across the border. How do we protect against them organizing in some way and taking down the energy grid in this country in a coordinated fashion.
You put a strong president in the Oval Office. That'll happen January 20th. This administration won't do it. And look, this is a huge national security threat to us. And it's closer to 60,000 Chinese under the Biden administration. 60,000 Chinese males, mostly military age, do not leave China without the coordination and approval of the Chinese government. That just don't happen. So this is a coordinated national security vulnerability that the Chinese government is involved in. That's my true belief. And it's a huge national security vulnerability. This administration did nothing to China about creating the precursors that make the fentanyl to sell the cartels. Nothing. They've done nothing about the Mexican cartels. President Trump is committed to take on the Mexican cartels because they've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in this world combined.
Talk about the NGOs that are involved in all of this.
The NGOs need to be investigated. They will be investigated. I know that the NGOs have been given billions of dollars to assist in this mass migration. Now, they say they're performing a service that's unnecessary, because while they're putting people in a hotel room in New York City for $500 a night, there are thousands of empty ice beds at $127 a night. And those ice beds come with doctors, nurses, pharmacists, 3 squares a day, and we're going to put them in a hotel at $500 a night. The reason this administration is doing that is for one reason. Because if you're in an ICE detention facility, immigration court prioritizes those in detention. They'll get a hearing in 30 to 40 days, which means they'll be removed in 30 to 40 days because most of them don't qualify. However, if you're released, you're on what we call the non-detained docket. Immigration court doesn't prioritize that. So now you're waiting 3, 5, 7 years. And in that 3, 5, 7 years, you probably got 1 or 2 USC kids. You probably have some other equities. So when it does get time to remove you, when I was ICE director, I got called from Republican senators. Why'd you remove that guy? He has 2 U.S. citizen kids. Well, he didn't have 2 U.S. citizen kids when he entered illegally. So he chose to have 2 U.S. citizen kids, knowing he's in the country illegally. Now he's got order removal. So that means he gets amnesty? That means he's immune from the court order? Because if that's a fact, then shut down the immigration court. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Shut down, take the border control off the border, with no consequences. No. If you choose to have an American child while you're in this country illegally, shame on you. You put yourself in that position. And I removed him, despite some yelling even from Republican senators. The law is the law, and we're not going to bend it.
So how long are we keeping these people, if they go into some of these hotels for $500 a night? I've stayed at the Motel 6 before, which it wasn't $6, even though they called it the Motel 6, but it was pretty cheap when I was in college. But $500 a night is considered a pretty luxury hotel, right? Even in New York.
I have never stayed in a hotel room at $500 a night. You gave me a pretty nice hotel room here, and I think it's around $300. But I've never stayed in a $500 hotel, nor would I. I'm a Hampton Inn type guy. Give me a Hampton Inn. You know, they got comfortable. As long as it's got a clean bed and a clean shower, I'm good.
Yeah. You go down and fix your own breakfast, and
you know what? When I was the ICE director, I was actually the secretary. Secretary Kelly called me up one day and said, "Congratulations, you're the cheapest fed in the United States government." He goes, "We pulled your travel. You always stay at Hampton Inns. You always take coach, and you turn down free upgrades on airplanes. Why would you turn down a free first class ticket and upgrade?" I says, "Because the taxpayers don't know it's a free upgrade. They see me sitting in that first class seat. They're thinking, okay, Homan's flying around our tax dollar in first class." So I turned down every upgrade, and I never took a detail with me. Every security guy, every ICE director would take 5 or 6 people in the security detail and his chief of staff. I figure wherever I'm going, there's an ICE office there. I got plenty of armed officers there. They'll take care of me there. And if I need chief of staff, I'll grab some from that office. So I called the cheapest fed in Washington, D.C. because I'm not saying I'm cheap, but I'm not going to spend the taxpayers' money like it's my money. It's not.
Yeah, I get it. But now, how long are we keeping these people in these hotels? What's the average length of stay?
So someone's been there for years. I mean, I don't know. The NGOs are getting, as long as we keep funding these NGOs, they're going to keep paying for it. But I was in New York City. What really got me upset, I was in New York City a few weeks ago, right to Columbus Day. The day before Columbus Day, I arrived in New York City to do some shows, and I'm trying to get to the Fox studio from my hotel, and I got across, I forget what street it was, and there was a parade going on the day before Columbus Day. And it was migrant groups. I saw Honduran flag came down, and they were singing songs and marching. Then El Salvadorian flag comes down, the Mexican flag comes down. And I'm sitting there because you can't cross the street. The NYPD would stop the parade once in a while and open up a path to cross. And out of all these, everything I saw there, I never saw American flag. I stood there for 40 minutes, never saw American flag. But I saw all these other foreign national flags. That's fine. But I've never seen people who claim persecution carrying the flag of the persecutors. It kind of amazed me. And the next day we had a Columbus parade. But what I saw in New York City was all these people are being staying in hotels. I walked by the Roosevelt Hotel, which used to be a beautiful hotel. I guarantee it's not anymore. And there's been whistleblowers out of the hotel saying there's been defecation on the floors, there's been food thrown, there's been sexual assaults, and it's just amazing. And I think just recently the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, has reached out to me, and I'm planning on meeting with him. I think he wants some help, and I'm willing to give him help to make that city safe again.
Well, that's $15,000 a month to put somebody in a hotel, and they could be in an ice bed for 120. The
average ice bed is 120. It's 127 when I left, and like I say, in an ice bed you get all these other things. You get food. There's a doctor in these facilities, medical care, attorney privilege rooms, VTC. You can talk to the VTCs. They talk to you. I mean, these facilities. I think most American taxpayers would be pretty upset at what ICE spends in these facilities on their detention standards. You have the highest detention standards in the industry.
And there are empty ice beds.
Thousands of them.
Thousands.
Already paid for. The reason they're not putting them in ice beds is because they know they'll get a quick hearing. If they release them, chances are they're never going home because they're hoping in 5 or 6 years, there's a Democratic administration, they'll come up with an amnesty program, and congratulations, you all get to stay.
Yeah, people need to hear this conversation. I mean, this is just it's not a lot of details. It's just bottom line, what's happening. People need to understand there are thousands of ice beds available, and they're passing them up and putting people in something that costs 3-4 times more for much longer.
This is by design. They purposely overwhelmed the system. Where now some hearings are out 5-7 years in New York City. They push it out because in that 5 to 7 years, you can have U.S. citizen kids. You can build equities. And they're hoping that an administration will come along, maybe a Democratic administration that's going to come up with an amnesty program. They're pushing the thing out. They overwhelm the system on purpose. I mean, ICE criminal docket's over 1 million people. And I think the overall docket's over 4 million already on the docket. And immigration judges are already overwhelmed. Well, their work just got 100 times worse. There are actually hearings that won't happen for 7 years. And that they did this on purpose.
Let's take a look at Trump versus Biden administration. The Trump administration, 2017 to 2020, encounters 2,088,618. Encounters the Biden administration, 10,825,387, and then 2 million gotaways. So that's a huge difference in the number of people penetrating the border. And then repatriations, 1.6 under the Trump administration, and then 4.4 under the Biden administration, which is reflective of the number of people coming across. Trump administration, 2,000 pounds of fentanyl seizure, and Biden administration, 14,000 pounds. That's enough to kill every American walking, because it doesn't take much. So that tells you how much is coming across, because DEA tells me they assume they're seizing about, 10%?
No, more than 10%. It's not a coincidence in 4 years of an unsecured border, we have historic overdose deaths from fentanyl. It's coming across between the port of entries. But the Border Patrol is overwhelmed. And that's what people need to understand. They want to talk about innocent and illegal immigration. They're coming for a better life. I get that. But you need to understand, when you overwhelm the system like they've done the last 4 years, most of the Border Patrol is no longer on patrol. They're making sandwiches, changing diapers, they're making hospital runs. They're dealing with a humanitarian crisis. So when you pull 70% of agents off through national security duty, that's when they move the fentanyl in to kill Americans. That's when they move the sex trafficking, the 600% increase in sex trafficking. That's when the bad people come. And look, 2 million people paid more to get away. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because they could have paid less, get to the border,
cartel job's done. Turn yourself in a green uniform. Get processed, get released within 24 hours. Get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. Get a free hotel room. Get 3 meals a day. Get free medical care. And in 90, 120 days, get work authorization, which was the very reason you came here. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. That just scared the hell out of everybody. It scares the hell out of me. How many of those came from the country sponsoring terror?
If people know, and they do, that we're 5, 6, 7 weeks away from President Trump being sworn in, you taking over the reins, is there a rush to get here? Do we have an influx of people headed this way to try to get here before that happens?
Yes, the cartels are selling that right now. Get in the country before Trump gets in. But what they're being smarter about, rather than these big caravans, they're breaking them up in smaller groups, so they're not so noticeable. The president of Mexico says she's going to break up the caravans. I'll believe when I see it. What they're doing is breaking them up in smaller pieces and sneaking across the border.
And they're still coming, though.
Oh, they're still coming.
So
there are thousands and thousands in towns across Mexico waiting to make that journey. They're going to come. And look, they're going to come when President Trump's president, but the difference is there's not going to be catch and release.
is this something that you can do in 4 years? Is it something you can do in a year?
No, this is a decades problem. But we're going to do a lot of it. Look, we'll secure the border, no doubt. But to remove all the illegals in this country, no, it's a decade problem. And they create that on purpose, like I just said.
Yeah.
And when the decade comes, we'll probably have a Democrat administration at some time. I hope not, but if they do, they'll come up with some amnesty program. That's why we need to be vigilant. That's why this operation is so important. We need to do as much as we can as quick as we can to take control, because this, again, by design, they meant this to happen, and it's going to be hard to fix it. It's a decade fix. But the border, a few months, we'll have that locked down. We know what to do. President Trump's a strong president. He would demand action from the Central American countries and demand action from Mexico, and it's going to have he's already doing it with Canada and Mexico, and I'm sure he's having conversations. The president of Panama just reached out to me. He wants to meet with the president. He's serious about shutting down the Panama Gap, and he will do it. But like he said, well, the Biden administration said they're going to do it, but they never gave him the money to do it. So we'll hook him up with President Trump, and we'll finally shut down the Darien Gap and let them shut it down with our assistance. But he's serious about it. You got the president of El Salvador, who's locking up hundreds of thousands of gang members in this country. He'll help us. And he's taking a strong stance. He wants to work with the president. So a lot of leaders around the world are seeing the light, and they want to work with President Trump.
Did countries such as Venezuela take people out of prison and send them up here, and in fact refuse to take them back?
Yes. And Venezuela, to this day, they're pushing back on taking return of those criminals. So President Trump already realizes he has to give a mandate to Venezuela saying, you will take these people back or you'll face consequences.
We're talking about some gangs here. This is from Aurora. I've had the Aurora people here. You've been in this building.
Yes.
You've been to this building. You've talked to this resident. The mayor had a statement that contradicted itself within the statement that said there wasn't a problem here. We arrested 6 people there. Well, which was it? Was there a gang problem in this building?
Absolutely. There's a gang problem in that building, in that entire neighborhood. There's a gang problem.
Yeah.
I was there. Put the communities at great risk. But now they got a problem January 20th because my gang's bigger than their gang.
What happens January 21st? Where do you start?
Well, there's 3 rails we'll start the first day. Number 1, we're going to secure the border. Number 2, we're going to run the deportation operation. And number 3, I'll look for these 300,000 kids. We'll find them too. President Trump's been clear. We're going to prioritize public safety threats and national security threats first because they pose the most danger to this nation. So day 1, we're going to be looking for these public safety threats, arresting them, detaining them, and deporting them. And if these sanctuary city mayors don't want to help, then get the hell out of the way because we're coming. We're doing it.
You know, a lot of people on the left are saying you are a cold-blooded, uncaring hard ass.
I don't care.
And you're saying just the opposite, that they're encouraging people to put themselves in harm's way, to subject themselves to abuse, torture, rape, and death. And it's them that are uncaring and allowing these people to be tortured and put in harm's way. You're flipping the script on them from what I hear you saying.
Absolutely. And I got data to back it up. You compare the sex trafficking under Trump compared to Biden, up 600%. Compare the overdose deaths of fentanyl comes across an open border. Compare Biden to Trump. If you want to look at the no inspected terrorists under Trump, 13, 14, 4 years, they had over 300. They had more people on the terrorist watch list arrested last month than Trump had in 4 years. So the data proves it. The number of migrants dying, we're hitting the 4,000 mark under President Biden. Historic number of migrants have died crossing that border. So, they can look at the data themselves and see the difference between the two administrations. President Trump's policy saved lives by the thousands. Biden's killing Americans at record numbers with fentanyl overdoses, and they're killing migrants at record numbers. The facts speak for themselves.
Well, we're talking about 100,000, and I call them poisonings with this fentanyl because it is poisonings. But if you had any other way that people were being killed at the rate that they're dying from fentanyl, if it was airline crashes or whatever, that's 1,900 people a week that are dying from fentanyl poisoning. Can you imagine if 1,900 people a week were dying in airline crashes? Oh my God, people would be pulling their hair out. They'd be running up and down the street. What in the world's going on? But we have people dying of these fentanyl poisonings at 100,000, and it seems like people don't react to it the way they would if it was airline crashes or trains crashing or subways.
We have a 9/11 every week.
Yeah.
About 300 a day, 2,100. That's in the ballpark of a 9/11 every week.
Yeah.
And again, the media is not talking about it. Thank God you're talking about it. I've seen you do a lot of shows on it. Thank you for that. But, Fox is talking about it. Maybe Newsmax, they're doing some of it. But the other media, I don't hear anything from NBC, ABC, any of these, CNN, none of these people. They're not talking about why? Because it's an embarrassment to this administration. So they'll cover it up. But again, like I said earlier, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. We're losing an entire generation over this. It's the number one killer of people between the ages of 18 and 45. If this was COVID, they'd be coming up with some vaccine for it, right? But because it's so, they've made this thing so political that it's being hidden from the American people. And I appreciate shows like yours that bring it to the attention of the American people. And you're right, they're poisonings because most of these kids are not drug addicts. They're taking something they think is going to help them stay up to take a test the next morning. I need to stay awake and study for this final. They take something they don't know is laced with fentanyl. It's poisonings, and the Chinese government, this administration's done nothing about it. And they've done nothing to address the cartels in Mexico. So thank God President Trump's coming into office, and he will hold China accountable. He will hold Mexico accountable, and he will hold the cartels accountable. He's going to designate them terrorist organization, which is a huge step to attacking them, attacking their money, attacking them all over the world.
The thing that impacts me about you as much as anything, I think people respond to the fact that you're very straightforward, you're very outspoken about this, but the thing that impacts me really the most about you, I have to say, is your humanity. When I hear you talk about these people coming across the border illegally, it's very clear to me that you care about the way in which they're being victimized. I don't hear you talking about these people in an ugly way, like they're some kind of evil people or second-class citizens in some way. I heard real pain in your voice when you were talking about the fact that they're being starved, tortured, sexually assaulted, raped, drowning in the river. We talk about numbers, and numbers can take the humanity out of it because you're talking about saving lives. It's important to realize they're being victimized in getting here. They're being victimized by these cartels. Let's take a look at some video of a 2-year-old migrant girl recently found alone at the Texas border. Now, the girl, the Salvadorian, was among 200 migrants with 60 unaccompanied minors.
Venezuela, mamá. Venezuela. ¿Sí? ¿Qué tantos años tienes? Dos años. ¿No vienes con tu mamá y tu papá? ¿No? ¿Venezuela? ¿Para dónde vas, mamá? ¿Dónde están?
Estados Unidos.
¿Estados Unidos? Okay.
This is a 2-year-old child that shows up with a Post-it note. How did she get there?
Obviously, her parents played the criminal cartel, have her smuggled in. Thank God she's alive, because too many of these young people perish. Hopefully she wasn't sexually assaulted by some animal in the cartel, because that happens all the time. But you know, she'll eventually be released. They'll find her parents and delivered to the parents. What I want to happen, when the parents come forward, we'll process them too. And when that little girl goes to immigration court, the parents can be standing shoulder to shoulder with her, because that's parenting 101, in my opinion, and we'll deport them all together as family. This should not happen. We got to put a stop to this. It's just madness. I don't know who put a 2-year-old in the hands of a criminal cartel to be smuggled across the border. It's so dangerous. The river alone, the river's taken thousands of lives. The desert, thousands of lives. I don't understand it, but we're going to put an end to it.
It seemed to me that you genuinely care about those people.
I care about people, and I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti-illegal immigration because I know what happens, and I've seen a lot of, as I said earlier in the show, I've talked to little girls when I was 9, and as a father, you get on your knees, you look in her eyes, and see the pain she went through, and everything innocent and pure. No child should go through that, and as a parent, that'd be devastating to me, and I stood in back of a tractor trailer and 19 dead people at my feet, including a 5-year-old boy who begged for his life. It came out through the investigation with the ones that survived. He begged his dad to not let him die. He wanted to see his mommy again, and you know, and his dad can't do anything. They're locked in a steel truck. Think of the agony they went through, the pain they went through. And I've seen so much of this, and I'm tired of it. And you know, I'll be honest with you. At one point, I had to go get help. Because of the things I saw that I can't forget. That's why I'm so passionate about this. A secure border saves lives. I mean, I'm a tough guy, but I got a heart. And like I said earlier, the men and women of the Border Patrol, they have hearts too. And it's not about, I understand why the people want to come to the greatest nation on earth. I get it. I get it that many are coming for a better life and to get a job and support their families. I get it. But they need to understand they're going to be victimized with all this shit happening. And hope I can say that on podcast, but
Yeah.
I take this personal because I've seen it. I take it personal because I am a parent. And when that 5-year-old kid, when I knelt by him, said a prayer, it broke me inside for a while. Because I had a 5-year-old son at the time. And I sit there on my knees and thinking how lucky I am and how lucky my son is that he's not back at the tractor trailer, because we're not forcing this kind of plight because our country's taking care of us. And there's not a need for me to go to another country, and all this plays in. And I want this fixed, and a secure border saves lives. President Trump had illegal immigration at a 45-year low. 90% less people are coming. Look at the lives that were saved. Even the wall, and people say the wall is Trump's vanity wall, and what a waste of taxpayer money. No, the wall saves lives. You don't understand, because the women and children can't get over the wall, which means the most vulnerable, the weak, the women and children are going to go to a place where there's not a wall. And what's waiting on them? The men and women wearing that green uniform, whose first responsibility is to take care of their medical needs, because a lot of them are in bad shape.
Right.
So yes, I love people, and I understand why they want to come to the greatest nation on earth, but so much bad happens, we have to stop it, and Congress needs to fix the system. But until then, we just can't let this stuff continue to happen, because people are done. While you and I are talking right now, women are being sexually assaulted being held down against their will and being sexually assaulted in ways you can't imagine. A child will be sexually assaulted by members of these cartels. It happens every day. And someone's going to die tonight, likely a woman or a child making that journey. If not on our border, then in the Darien Gap or in Mexico, people die by the thousands every year trying to make that trek. And I've had it. I'm done with it. And we need to secure the border and save lives.
Well, and as you said, it got to you, and it's gotten to a lot of the border agents down there, because we've had a lot of suicide among those brave men and women down there, because you can't unsee, you can't unhear, you can't get that experience out of your mind and heart sometimes, and it just overwhelms their coping energies.
And and me, by telling the stories I tell, I hope people look. There's a lot of people don't like me. I get it, but if you saw what I saw, I think you'd understand me, because even though I'm a tough guy, I love kids, and kids are being abused every day on that border. And look, President Trump had it just locked down. He saved a lot of lives, and I wake up every day pissed off that this administration came in and unsecured the most secure border in a lifetime. Now the deaths are skyrocketing, sexual assaults are skyrocketing. And it's just, I'm grateful that President Trump won this election. I'm grateful he called me back to action, because we're going to save lives. And people can hate me all they want. I'm going to save lives.
Well, it's going to be my honor to help you do it. And anything I can do, anything this platform can do to help you do it, I want you to know that we're here for you. We want to get this story out. We want people to know it. We want to get the truth, the transparent truth out to what's going on down there and the motives that you have to save lives. We think it's important that people know the whole truth, the transparency. Tom, thank you for talking to me.
And with your help, we're going to be transparent. So I need people, shows like yours and you, sir, to show the American people exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. Then I think they'll understand it. So I appreciate your help on that.
Well, you can count on us. We're going to be there with you every step of the way. Thank you.